The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It is Friday, January 19th, and today is National Popcorn Day. And according to Ingrid in the chat, today is also a very happy birthday to Miss Dolly Parton. That's right, Miss Dolly Parton, Dollywood. But thank you for joining. What's that?
Top heavy.
Top heavy? Is that what you said?
Dolly Parton.
Uh-huh.
Also true.
Yeah, all that's true. Top heavy, yes. Thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look down below on your screen to see where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and on our very own website. That's right, www.highat9news.com. But kicking it off today, that's right, we have the dope dad himself, who is up in the Central Valley, up there in Fresno, where no one goes. That's right, he is the dope dad himself. It is Rico Lamitte.
Thank you, Jason. I'm out here in beautiful Yes.
Yes.
And I got a feel good Friday story for you. I'm trying to get through it really quickly because there's a lot to it. You can always check out the full version of the story at highat9news.com. All right, so story today is from South Florida Sun, Sentinel Silas Morgan. A bit of good news for once coming out of the Sunshine State. 27-year-old Michael Anthony Nelson of Crystal River, Florida, was arrested December 2020 on a drug-related charge after Citrus County Sheriff's Office seized 28.9 pounds of marijuana from his residence in Hernando during a search with a warrant, according to court records. A confidential informant previously twice purchased marijuana from Nelson before arranging third buy. The CI never arrived to collect, but the police did. Nelson was charged with 4 felonies, including trafficking and cannabis, plus a misdemeanor. He ultimately pleaded no contest. None of the charges was related to guns. During his sentencing in February 2022, 2 years later, prosecutors sought a sentence of 87 months on 2 of the charges from Circuit Judge Richard Howard. Remember that name, Judge Richard Howard. Mm-hmm. The sentences for the other charges were to be served concurrently. Nelson apologized to his mother and judge and said that he agreed to sell marijuana to raise money to invest in real estate and pay for renovations of a home. I did it all out of impatience and greed. I'm a bit of an opportunist, and sometimes it works in my advantage. Sometimes it bites me in the, rear. So a little bit of context here. This is December 2020, middle of the pandemic. The whole world's flipped upside down, and Donald Trump is a mere weeks away from inciting a riot at the nation's capital in a failed attempt to steal the election he legally and lawfully lost.
Stop it.
Damn. This brother saw an opportunity in the midst of chaos while Rome was literally burning all around him. He shot his shot, and he missed. I blame capitalism and Jason Beck for this one. But there was a lie that we were all sold on this American dream, and he got caught up in it. Back to the story. According to the appeals ruling, prosecutors at the hearing displayed 2 photos of firearms legally owned by Nelson that were found in Nelson's residence during the arrest as part of their agreement. The guns included a small Ruger pistol and an assault-style rifle, both legal in Florida. Prosecutors mentioned a potential murder months prior, possibly linked in their closing statements. Prosecutors mentioned a potential murder months prior, possibly linked to the sale of marijuana, without explicitly stating Nelson's name as being involved in that. Why would they even bring that up? I know why. Because they were colluding with the crooked-ass judge attempting to put yet another human being under the jail for a nonviolent cannabis crime. After sentencing Nelson, Judge Howard brought the photos of the guns back up in a statement that made absolutely no sense, given the case had nothing to do with guns, and those posted in the photo were all owned legally. Here's what Judge Howard said. And what hurts you the most, Mr. Nelson, was the photograph of those guns. They did not charge with those. I did not take that into account. But why did you do this? I do not know. Nelson appealed the case the following month, and on Friday, today, a panel of 3 last Friday, a panel of 3 appellate judges in Daytona Beach, Jordan Pratt, Eric Ensnagel, and John Harris ruled Nelson's rights to due process had been violated during his sentencing when the trial had taken Nelson's ownership of firearms into consideration, especially considering the fact that Nelson had not been charged with a firearms-related offense and had been exercising his protected Second Amendment right as a lawful gun owner. Take a round of applause for that, Adam, please. The appeals judges wrote, if due process prohibits a trial court from relying on uncharged and unproven crimes when pronouncing a sentence, it prohibits the trial court from relying on the lawful exercise of a constitutional right. The panel found that the prosecutors had been unable to prove that Howard had not partially relied on Nelson's gun ownership in pronouncing the sentence, given the judge's remarks. The panel threw out Nelson's sentence and directed the chief judge to reassign the case to a different judge for a new sentencing. The new judge has not been assigned, but when he is resentenced, the time he has already served in prison will be deducted from the new sentence. He was placed in jail immediately following the sentencing back in February 2022 and is currently incarcerated at Putnam Correctional Institution in Palatka, where he was transferred April 2022, the day after his 29th birthday. So what this judge and these prosecutors did was unfortunately a story all too common, and the truth is he never got to appeal this shit. He never would have gotten to appeal this shit in a blue state. Think about that. I've never been much of a fan of Florida politics, even though Floridians do have some of the most Second Amendment friendly laws in the nation. Law enforcement protecting citizens of color's access to said rights over the years has been sporadic at best. But a broken clock is right 2 times a day, and I got to give props when they are deserved. It was 2 years too late, and now we're at that 4-year mark. Florida got this one right. Even though he's still behind bars, this young man gets a second chance to fight for his freedom in a state much more politically supportive of cannabis than it was 4 years ago. Everybody, besides Meatball Ron. But I wish you the absolute best of luck, Mr. Nelson. The 4 years that you and your family have had to suffer already for a nonviolent cannabis crime is more than anyone should have to. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News, the cannabis industry's #1 daily news show. Love to hear everybody else's thoughts on this one.
Man, so is the reason that the guns weren't allowed to be admissible in court, is that because the CI never came up to pick up the money?
No, the guns had nothing to do with the case.
Because the guns had absolutely nothing to do with the case. Okay, all right, okay.
Nothing at all.
Okay,
nothing.
And so basically they arrest him, they charge him, whatnot, and then they find the guns. But they don't add any firearms charges or any homicide charges or any. No,
there's no reason for them to even bring him up.
They were just trying
at
to
all, and they brought him up like that in closing remarks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised. I'm surprised
to paint him as a violent person.
I'm surprised his lawyer didn't motion to have that striked from the record.
Well, whole sentencing was thrown out. They can't use that at all. They're about to go back to trial and fight for it again.
This is going to be interesting. Super, super interesting. What do you think about this, Dale?
Especially with the political climate right now, too.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about this, Dale?
I share your sentiments about Florida, having lived there for a full decade, my formative years. I agree. I've never understood why Second Amendment rights were not fought harder for cannabis consumers. It basically just put a target on our back. And unfortunately, law enforcement has actually participated in perpetrating placing that target back once upon a time when credit cards were not a problem. And the local sheriff said, oh, you're not allowed to take credit cards anymore. And then immediately went on the news and said, look at all these poor, helpless patients walking around with cash or weed. And then suddenly robberies and burglaries went up. And then he pointed to all of the extra crime around cannabis. I'm glad that the conversation's out there. And I think that in the next, if we reschedule, actually solves the problem, reschedule or deschedule. It's one of those either or, that just because we lawfully in our state consume cannabis, that we can't lawfully protect our family. I also agree that Florida takes it a bit too far on the stand your ground and also chase after them if you think they look suspicious and shoot them dead, and that's okay too. Interpretation of those laws, especially if you tend to be darker than me. So I'll just call that out loud. Back to you, Rico.
I'm a big fan of Florida's gun laws. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah, they're great. You can do whatever you want. Like, you know what, though? If you're white.
Why is it that all the people that want the guns won't let the guns in their meetings, but they can bring them into my school meetings? That's not okay with me.
I have no problem. I have no problem. I have no problem having guns in school meetings. I have no problem having guns everywhere. It's
hypocritical at best that they won't allow it into the RNC or any of those. Like, I'm just calling your bullshit out on that one.
I think they should. I think they should have guns there too. I mean, there's plenty of security and armed law enforcement and whatnot.
Why do we need guns at school?
I think we do need guns at school. Personally, I think we do.
Yeah,
I think
they
we
did. The good guys with the guns did such a great job in Uvalde, didn't they? I'm gonna go on mute now. Thank you.
It's all good. Yeah. It's all good. All good.
No, you're right on that, Dale. I got your back on that one, Dale.
And those were kids of color, and I'm just gonna call that out too. Mm-hmm. I'm just pissed that it was a poor community school, predominantly kids of color, that they just sat outside while the parents were getting arrested for trying to run in and save their own children. That is abhorrent. The gun laws in this country are fucked up at best.
I agree with what you're saying on that.
The good guys with guns. The good guys with guns did not protect the children.
Yeah, I agree with you guys on that those guys are a disgrace to the community in regards for not going in and then going after parents that are going in. I agree with all you guys on that. 100% on that. I still think that places would be safer if we
didn't have semi-automatic weapons walking around. And
I don't believe that. I don't believe that semi-automatic weapons are the problem.
Semi-automatic weapons around yet?
I don't have a problem with semi-automatic
waiting
weapons.
Period. Maybe.
I think we should have mental health checks. I think that would probably be the biggest starter in regards to that, is have a mental health check. I'm totally.
I'll say this last thing at the end.
Oh my God.
You can't yell fire in a theater. Under the First Amendment, you shouldn't be able to walk into an elementary school with a semi-automatic weapon when you're 18 years old. I'm sorry. There's got to be guardrails somewhere here.
I didn't say that you should be 18 years old and walk in with a semi-automatic. I'm saying that whatever is the security patrol for that school and is going to be guarding the school and ensuring the safety of the children, I think they should be able to have whatever weapons that they want. That's all I'm saying.
Too many schools aren't hardened like that, Jason. It's just not feasible.
Yeah,
it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. You got any thoughts on this, Dr. T?
I think you've been seeing me nod my head when Dale speaks. So, yeah, I don't need a gun in school. I don't know why you do. If people need to bring guns in school, there's a much bigger problem. And it's not that the guns are going to solve that problem. So let's really focus on the problem rather than just adding to the problem by bringing more guns to the school.
That's fair, but there's always been guns in school. I mean, kids had guns in school when I was in school. Kids were toting guns at school.
Just because there's always been guns in school doesn't mean.
When you and I were in school, Jason, we still had the assault weapons ban going on. It was safer. We were still ducking and covering for like frickin' hurricanes where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my 6-year-old is doing fucking gun drills at her elementary school. Like this is about. I mean, I realize this is about safe access, and a lot of these conversations cross over about prohibition, but we're not selling cannabis to 13-year-olds out of dispensaries either. There's just
you know who I actually blame. You know who I actually blame for this more than the actual guns, Dale. In all honesty and seriousness, is I blame the pharmaceutical industry with all of these intoxicating substances and whatnot, like the Zolofts and all of these different antidepressants that they're putting all of our kids on. That a lot of these kids that do these types of shootings wouldn't
be able to do that many deaths in 30 seconds if they didn't have a semi-automatic weapon that could shoot that many rounds that fast with bump stocks and extra freaking. I mean, like, I'm sorry, you can have mental issues and kill 2 or 3 people with a revolver instead of 30 people in under a minute. Like, there's just a whole other level of death and destruction with availability to these things. And I wouldn't want availability of dangerous drugs that have the effective dose so close to the deadly dose either. And that's what you're talking about with like ramping up with all of the accidental deaths and suicides. There is a
I believe a number of those. I believe a number of those school shooters, Dale. I believe a number of those school shooters are all on these mental illness drugs and whatnot. And I believe that's a big cause that the pharmaceutical industry is trying to cover up, because none of these kids get any type of.
We agree.
Yeah.
We agree.
And on that, we're going to go to commercial. And we're going to be right back.
To walk in because they are outgunned by the 18-year-old or the 14-year-old whose parents bought him a gun.
And we're going to go to a commercial. And we're going to be right back.
Hey, Dale.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet is doing in 2024.
He blames Canada.
Yeah. He is known for smoking the best weed in the world, but also he's full of excuses in 2024. Coming to the stage next. Y'all know who it is. Jason Beck.
Stop it. You guys are so funny. I have no excuses, just solutions, you guys, just solutions. But seeing as how we have 2 doctors on the show today, and we have Mrs. Jones, a mother, on the show today, I thought this story would be appropriate. And the full story you can read on our website at www.high9news.com. But what does medical marijuana actually do to a fetus, you guys? The Arizona Department of Child Safety says it will no longer investigate reports of newborns who test positive for marijuana, as long as their parent has a medical marijuana card. The move came after an appeals court ruled in favor of a mother who used medical marijuana during pregnancy to curb severe nausea and vomiting. The decision said that kind of cannabis use is protected under Arizona's medical marijuana law because it's under a doctor's advice. So what does marijuana use do to a fetus, and how often do doctors in the Valley see use during pregnancy? And so for more on that, this reporter from KJIZ out in Arizona, and talks with this Dr. Krista Labrizio, a doctor specializing in addiction medicine at Banner Health. Yeah, Jizz, ZZZ or something. K-Jizz. Yeah, K-Jizz. There we go. K-Jizz out in Arizona. Shout out to K-Jizz. So Krista Labruzzo, she says, or Labruzzo, who is the doctor, she says, this has been something that I felt like I have been doing very long, and something we've been studying, and it's changed over time too, because as you see, marijuana used to be mostly in leaf form. It used to be mostly smoked, and now we kind of have legalization where we have the component of THC or tetrahydrocannabidiol, which is that kind of active component. So we see much higher potency now, and so the studies we have had from the 80s don't necessarily correlate with the potency that we're seeing right now. So there are a couple of studies that are kind of that are okay to look at. Any female with marijuana use during pregnancy, chronic, what do we see that happens with fetuses, and then later on with newborn and childhood and adolescence? And she says, well, what do we see is we have this natural endocannabinoid system in our body. It is what it is called. So we naturally have a system that is very similar to THC. So we get concerned when we have that natural system. What happens when we give it exogenous THC? And what does that look like? Because not only is it part of our immune system, it is part of an implementation, it is part of a pregnancy, it's part of a fetal development, she says. She also says, so what I see in a couple of these studies, we do have from, roughly the 2000 studies, we see that risk to baby in general, low birth weight, that they may have NICU stays, and they may be more stimulated, meaning more reactive to light, and just, a little bit more fussy, just because of a withdrawal-like state. We also see that young kiddos, even a young age, will have decreased verbal skills, and that adolescents are more likely to develop ADHD or issues with executive function and problems with substance use. So there are some things that we're seeing, but again, there's many confounds, meaning some of the mothers used other substances. Maybe there's low socioeconomic status, which is hard to get into programs and things like that. So there are other confounds, but there's definitely concern. Laura Glinger says, so I have been pregnant, and I know that like mostly what happens is you have lots of things that you have not been that you have not been able to study during pregnancy. So they will say, we don't really know, so don't do it or don't use it. Don't take that medicine because we don't really know. It sounds like this sort of falls in that category. Why is it so difficult to have this studied? And so Labrizio responds, it's difficult because if you think about it, we can't do randomized clinical trials. If there is risk that we are aware of, which look at the longitudinal studies, it's unethical to tell someone, okay, you're going to smoke marijuana and you're not, and to have that potential of having these issues with the fetus or with the newborn. And so we have to look longitudinally, and a lot of times it's retrospective, meaning, we're asking moms to look back in pregnancy, tell us how much they were using or smoking, were they using anything else? And sometimes, looking back, we're just not as confident, or, it's just not correct. You don't remember everything, and so it becomes a little difficult for that kind of look into those types of details. Gillinger says, so how do we know how common it is that a pregnant person will be prescribed even something like medical marijuana to treat something like morning sickness? I know that exists, right? And Labruzio says, yes, it does. And, here in the Valley, I would say it's very uncommon. I have not seen it any prescriber, and that's only because we do have medications for morning sickness that are safer, that we know are safer. So it should be very rare, and we also just don't have good data that says, hey, does this actually help? what the risk versus benefit here for people. I will say anecdotally, there are studies that say pregnant women say marijuana use does help their morning sickness, but we just don't have great data that shows the objective data, whether we do have less vomiting, whether we do have less hypermesis and that kind of thing. Since we do have some safe medications, those are fine. Those are the first line, definitely. And this article goes on and on and on with questions, and you can read it all on our website at www.high9news.com. But in the essence of time, I would really love to hear what the doctors have to say and the moms have to say about this. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do y'all think?
And the dads,
well, I think we do have
dads in here too.
Well, the dads weren't referenced in the article, Rico. So you got left out on that one.
Yeah.
We definitely do have some data. Melanie Dreher did a study in Jamaica. It was a 10-year study. It got canceled after 5 years because she reported benefits versus harm, and she regretted that greatly to that day. She's like, I probably could have reported differently. I was just so excited about it. And then because we remember that Congress made the law that when DCP, by extension NIDA, have to do anything within its power to not allow it to be legalized. So it's allowed to fund studies to show harm, not benefits. I do agree that was different. These were root daughters, ganja moms. We're talking about like pinner joints that none of you would, you're not necessarily going to puff and pass. But some of them smoked, up to 70 pinner joints a day. And in 12 of the 14 indicators, the children of the root daughters actually showed higher indicators across the board. So I think that the problem here is that the only children we test are the ones whose parents got caught. So there's no comparison of how kids do otherwise out in the wild. And I also just want to point out real quick, the drugs that they prescribe to moms. Okay, the drugs that I took that were prescribed to me, I still see on cable news with the commercial saying that I should call and sue those companies because it does cause birth defects. It was never tested on children or women, and it was often prescribed off label. Benedictine is the one drug that was widely used for the treatment of nausea and vomiting until 1983. It was yanked. FDA discontinued it because of lawsuits alleging that it caused congenital problems, but it continued to be used in Canada. And so the FDA just a couple years ago, or actually it would have been about 7 years ago, agreed to make it legal again here in the U.S. in time for my third pregnancy. The pill didn't work. It didn't do a goddamn thing. And can I tell you how easy it is to keep a pill down when you can't keep water down? Yeah, so not helpful at all. You can inhale cannabis. You cannot inhale Benedictine. But I just really want to shout out, look, first, hit of hope that a mom in Arizona was not just automatically, you are an abuser, a neglector of your child, and the child is suddenly removed and put in foster care, because that is the most detrimental thing. To separate baby from mom, especially newborn, is detrimental to bonding. It's detrimental for the rest of that child's life. The most dangerous thing for that baby is just being caught with marijuana in its system. And so that we're finally acknowledging this. However, moms, pregnant women, people who love pregnant women, this doesn't mean it's okay to go tell your doctor. There are mandatory reporting requirements in every state. You're still going to have to prove it on the other side, and it's going to be rough between now and then. So you have to be really careful about who you tell and who you share your cannabis consumption with. And with pregnancy, you're supposed to avoid all extra things. Eat healthy food, drink lots of water, don't drink soda, don't take recreational drugs. In this case, you take enough to stop puking your guts out and stop. Like these pregnant moms aren't like, give me as hot as I can. Like, I wouldn't take cold medicine when I was pregnant. We're not just looking to get high. We're looking to get better. And I'm just grateful that we're finally this is a glimmer of hope.
Dr. Talleyrand, I noticed in there that the doctor in Arizona makes the statement that well, the stuff that we have works better, and we don't have enough knowledge to know if cannabis works. To me, that seems like a very hypocritical statement that she's willing to put her medical. Yeah, exactly. Is that she's willing to say, hey, you probably shouldn't use it, and we have better things to do, but yet we don't have any data to show whether or not this could be better or not. And so it's very contradictory in the statement. What do you have to say about that, Dr. T?
I agree, Jason. That's a great observation. She contradicted herself there. First of all, as a public service announcement, if you're having aches and pains in third trimester, please do not use ibuprofen. It's dangerous for the pregnancy. And the ibuprofen, by the way, is available for anyone to pick up in
over the counter.
The store over the counter. Mm-hmm. So just ibuprofen, Advil. Don't use Advil in pregnancy. So, this is the contradiction in our medical environment. We've been told a lot of negative things about cannabis because we don't have information. We prejudge. These are the responses that you get. Let's give Arizona a pat on the back for, creating this law. It's pretty progressive. Absolutely great that they just took cannabis out of the equation here.
I think this is fantastic for parents in Arizona, and hopefully this will transcend into other states as well, because it is shameful. I agree with you 100%, Dale. It's terrible for them to be taking babies away from their parents. It's a shame, crying shame. You have anything to say about this, Dope Dad? Making sure that we include our dads.
Hell yeah. I'm the first one who brought this story up about a month and a half ago, fool. Mm-hmm. That's what I said. And the dope dads. Mm-hmm. It takes two to tango. It takes two to create a life. And in these unprecedented times, unfortunately, that's a huge issue that a lot of women are going to have to make that choice about this election coming up. Are you going to be pro women's rights? There's two choices there. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Want my opinion?
Yeah, go for it, Dr. Mark. Go for it. 100%.
All right, it's already been proven that there's cannabinoids in mother's milk. There's lots of advantages to mother's milk, right? Mm-hmm. It tastes good. I wouldn't know that by comes in the cutest containers.
It does come in the best containers, that's for sure, Dr. Mark.
But so the fact of the suckling response of the infant is due to a endocannabinoid triggered response.
Deficiency,
yes, that's been proven. That's been proven. So anything that helps. It's basically part of the makeup of our chemistry. And in the transition of taking a kid from mother's milk to solid food, they get a fair dose of endocannabinoids in that mother's milk. So you can't really say that, compounds that are acting on the cannabinoid receptors are bad for either mother or baby because it's naturally already happening, folks.
Yeah, it's chemically the same. The endocannabinoid the mother produces and the phytocannabinoid from the plant. When they did a mouse study, they removed the receptors from the mice, and those little babies died. They had no desire, no will to eat. Now, this actually triggered a lot of pharmaceutical companies to get very excited because, lose your will to eat, diet pills. So those diet pills, I remember one was called Ramonabant, I believe. They were approved in Europe, but not the U.S. Well, that whole will to live, that part of our receptor system, the will to eat is attached to the will to live. And a lot of folks died by suicide after getting slim and beautiful because they just didn't care anymore about anything. And so this is a universal system. We don't understand the universe, nor do we understand the system.
On that, we got to go right on into Dr. Gene Talleyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and the creator of Medican, where you can get your medical recommendations online or even in person if you're out there in the Bay Area. That's right, it is none other than Dr. Gene Talleyrand.
Happy Friday, everyone. Thanks, Jason. So I was listening to High at 9 yesterday, and several correspondents commented on cannabis research. I heard we've been using cannabis for thousands of years, or why do we need more research? Maybe some of us have forgotten about the little girl Charlotte and how she regained her life using type 3 CBD cannabis. It was going to be thrown away by the growers. As we debate about what good cannabis is and what it isn't, we forget that not everyone wants to get high. Some people just want to feel better. For these people, it's not about good weed or bad weed. It's about less pain or less seizures. Let's remember that not all cannabis users are stoners. My headline today is from a peer-reviewed scientific publication called the Journal of Endometriosis and Uterine Disorders. Efficacy and usability of cannabidiol tampon for the relief of primary dysmenorrhea, which means really bad menstrual cramps. Scientists from the UK and Bulgaria developed a CBD-infused tampon recognizing the potential benefits of cannabinoids in gynecologic pain management. Menstrual cramps are a common gynecologic ailment affecting 50 to 90% of adolescent females. The primary treatment for cramps is high doses of anti-inflammatory drugs, which can lead to acute kidney damage, dysregulation of the gut microbiome, gastric irritation, ulcers, and bleeding, with hospital admission to intensive care or potential death. Innovations in the treatment of gynecological pain have been limited until now. The endocannabinoid system includes CB1 and CB2 receptors, which are found in wide distribution throughout uterine tissue. In a previous publication, Dr. Ethan Russo suggests that a targeted approach to uterine endocannabinoid receptors may be effective in relieving menstrual cramps without the side effects of traditional drugs. In a randomized, single-blinded, placebo-controlled, non-interventional study, 63 participants using the CBD tampon or a placebo self-reported their menstrual pain after 3 cycles. Compared to placebo, the CBD-infused tampon significantly reduced pain in the first and third cycle. Less than 5% experienced tampon-related irritation, and between 37 and 40% reported improvement in vaginal dryness. So I'm concerned about the cannabis industry and its complaints about high taxes or the illegal market. I also think about science and research and how it answers many of the industry's concerns. However, I don't think California truly has a medical cannabis dispensary that actually caters to patients. Cannabis products like this are usually tucked away in a corner, and the staff has a poor understanding of their dosage or efficacy. Yet, they certainly know which products make them high. Weed is for stoners, and cannabis is for people. A CBD-infused tampon has just been proven to work for more than half of the adolescent female population. Will your medical cannabis dispensary have this product? Are products like this what saves the industry from its myopic perspective of THC? What do you think? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High at 9 News.
Wow. My mind is blown right now. Mind is blown.
Dr. T,
I've always been a fan of putting the cannabis as close to the pain as possible. So I'm a fan of the fact that you're also just bringing up common issues for women that are often awkward for men to talk about. So more power to you, Dr. T. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from an industry perspective, if you want to sell products and make money, why are you not selling products and make money to, over half of a demographic. You know, folks are losing out because they
we tend to buy.
You know,
we buy for our men too, so it's yeah.
I wonder, Dr. T. I wonder if part of the problem is the fact of our labeling requirements and how we're not able to advertise these products as far as being helpers. You know, all we can say is it's been known to help with people with these things, as opposed to saying, hey, you know what, this helps and this can work for you. You know, if you want to try it as an alternative. I think that might be one of the big reasons.
Well, the herbal nutritional supplement industries seem to find ways to get around that language. I think the cannabis industry, I just don't think that's the problem. I think we just, you know, those who own the stores love their THC so much. It's a blind love affair there, and they're missing out on revenue. Is all I'm saying.
This conversation,
Dr. T, I wanted to say.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say this, Dr. T. It was very tongue-in-cheek yesterday when we were talking shit about research. I hope you did catch that, because it was out of frustration because Rob Bonta is not allowing any more collegiate research for some reason out of the state of California, and they have not for the last 6 months. So we were making a joke like, who needs research anyways? We need to just move forward. So just want to make sure everybody who just caught that soundbite knows that we are pro-research over here. But it was tongue-in-cheek, and we were speaking very, very, very satirically, if you will.
Thanks for that clarification, Rico.
But it's a call out to put more women procurement people in place, because women are walking into your shop, but the buyers are all men. They're not buying with a woman's eye. And so the way that it's packaged, the way that it's processed, the way that it's described, the colors, all of that will speak to a woman if done properly. But unfortunately, the women-owned brands that I've talked to, most of the buyers are men, and they don't see value in putting a CBD tampon on their shelf, nor are they comfortable even like walking in with the box to talk to their coworkers about it. And so this is a desensitization moment as well. But yeah, if you want to sell to women, you need some women buyers to be able to, or at least allies that you can be trained.
Dale, are you saying that women are attracted to packages?
We're all attracted to packages. We eat with our eyes before our mouth.
Just want to make sure.
This is marketing 101. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the only thing I wish Saman could join us for the story today, because of his product, his Hello High product.
Well, you know what?
Right along with this conversation.
Well, you know what? He's going to be over there. We're going to see him later today when we are in Modesto over at Fino's for the launch of Profit today from 3 to 7 p.m. And on that, we got to go to a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Shout out to Women's Can Awards.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get yourself a Stretch and Smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
That's right, baby. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology. I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on athletes who have chronic pain or injury due to their sport, or the legends of the chronic in the game, baby.
Oh, yeah, you know what it is. We just stretched, and now we're gonna smoke, because you know what it is.
That's right. I love intuitively creating a session based on the individual I'm working with. We'll go through a few assessments, look at the past health history, injury, or anything that's still affecting you today, and create a customized session just for you. Let's go.
You with us, Rico? You there?
Yeah, just had to unmute. Sorry, I'm fish out of water right now.
All right.
But our next correspondent is a New England-based expert in organic and natural product chemistry, plant oil extraction analysis, and chemical modification. And today, along with the weekly weed science he drops on us every Friday, Dr. Mark Scialdone has a special guest with him, too. You got in the house with you, Dr. Mark.
Yeah, we got Willie Sheets from Vermont Alternative in the house.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
Actually, this is his house.
Yep. Back in the house.
Fam is in the building.
I got in my truck and drove up here. It's about an hour drive, but it was a beautiful, cold day here in northern Vermont. But
can we get an air horn for that? Can we get an air horn for that, Adam? That's love, Extendo fam. That's High at 9, bringing people together. Let's have some fun today.
Oh yeah.
I think we have a high.
For us, Doc?
We have a high of 9 degrees today.
Oh man.
And a low of 9 below zero, I think.
Yeah.
Well, thanks,
That's a hard
guys.
note.
Go ahead, Dr. Mark.
Yeah. Well, someone's got to live where it's cold, and someone has to be us, right?
Yeah, we're basically in Canada.
We're basically in Canada, right?
Yep.
But not quite. Okay, so my story today is entitled "Cannabis Improves Major Depressive Disorder Symptoms Study Finds." And this is from the Leafy News out of the UK. And it says that the treatment with medical cannabis is associated with reduced levels of depression in patients suffering major depressive disorder, according to a study published in the journal Pharmapsychiatry. The study carried out by researchers at the University of Duisburg, Essen, which is in Germany, and medical cannabis provider Algae Care in Germany accessed medical cannabis use as a cohort of 59 outpatients suffering from major depressive disorder. Major depressive disorder, or MDD, is also referred to as clinical depression. It's a mental health condition that causes persistently low or depressed mood and loss of interest in activities that once brought joy. Similar to the UK, medical cannabis can be described for MDD patients in Germany when traditional medical treatments have failed to produce results. In fact, I think the classification of this order is basically treatment-resistant depression, so depression that's not easily treated with typical antidepressant drugs. For the study, all participants had tried treatment with antidepressant medication, as I was saying, and were observed using cannabis over 18 weeks. Data was collected at the start of the study and during monthly consultations where the severity of the depression was measured on a 0 to 10 point rating scale, and side effects were also added and assessed in a checklist. Mean severity of depression decreased from 6.9 points at the start to 3.8 at week 18, the study reported. 1/3 of the patients complained of side effects, but none were considered severe. Medical cannabis was well tolerated, and the dropout rate was comparable to those in clinical trials of antidepressant medication, the study concluded. Patients were reported clinically significant reduction of depression severity. Reported side effects included dry eyes, dry mouth, and increased appetite. 2 patients reported trouble concentrating, fatigue, or disorientation, while 1 patient reported nausea, headaches, changes in taste, a scratchy throat, lethargy, and restlessness. These results are all extremely promising and encouraging as they expand the evidence for the continued use of medical cannabis in the treatment of psychiatric illness in Germany. Dr. Julian Wickman, a founder of and CEO of Algae Care, people who provided the cannabis, and also co-founder of the Bloomwell Group, Algae Care's parent company. In addition, the study lays the foundation for future research projects on the effects of cannabis therapy in the treatment of mental health conditions and illnesses. Past studies have also shown promising evidence that cannabis can help with the symptoms of depression. A 2023 study published in Neurotherapeutics involved 129 patients in the UK Medical Cannabis Registry patient database who were diagnosed with the depression. The results showed that the medical cannabis use was associated with improvements in depression and anxiety symptoms, as well as age-related quality of life and sleep quality over a 1, 3, and 6 months of treatment. In 2021, an observational study of 368 patients were also using cannabis, and 170 additional participants who did not use cannabis in a control group found that those already taking cannabis reported lower levels of depression. When a small number of participants from the group took a follow-up or took up cannabis in a follow-up, research reported that instances of anxieties dropped. So that's the article. You know, this has been now proven in these clinical studies with humans that basically cannabis use helps lower the severity of depression. And when antidepressant drugs don't work, cannabis can be basically used to drop what was a score of 6.9 on a scale from 0 to 10 down to 3. I mean, that's pretty significant. That's a pretty, statistically significant drop in the severity of these episodes. So we all know that cannabis makes people happy. And certainly, I guess that which sometimes people refer to as the bliss or the high or the side effect is actually what's working here to alleviate the severity of these symptoms of depression. So that's my story today from the great state of Vermont, in Willie's shop right here in Alburn, Vermont. So if you're ever in the beautiful state of Vermont and you want to come up and get some high quality cannabis, come see our guy Willie. He's usually in the chat, but today he's with me right next to me.
Yeah, shout out to Vermont Alternatives.
News.
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah, shout out to Vermont Alternatives,
Show
Willie
them love.
in the building. Yes. Yeah. This is great news. This man, we're just having like a lot of like good news today going on. What a way to end
Friday, man.
I first added a story about my favorite subject, Delta 8 and hemp, and them kicking the can down the road. But I didn't want to have such a depressing story to read when I was sitting here with Willie. So I changed my story today to talk about this use of to treat depression, and that should make everyone happy. And we all know that when people leave Willie's store, they're all happy because they just bought some high quality nugs.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah. There's no Delta 8.
Yeah, no Delta 8 on the shelf. Yes. That's
Willie. Dr. Mark, it makes me wonder with what we were just talking about with Dr. Talleyrand's story about the limbic system and that your endocannabinoid system is not producing a sufficient amount of this endogenous cannabinoid. And so you supplement with a phytocannabinoid and then you feel better, the whole will to live, depression. I don't know. This is where my head goes.
Yeah, well, I think that's all part of homeostasis. I think that, the well-feeling that you get, whether you're consuming CBD or THC, helps balance your body. And I think part of that de-stressing, part of the, delivering, when people feel the effects of cannabis, that's all healthy. That's all medical. That's decreasing the stress in your brain, in your body. And I'm sure Dr. Talleyrand sees this in a number of his patients that, people use cannabis because it makes them feel good. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that is a medical use of cannabis.
Mm-hmm. It's cannabinoid deficiency syndrome might be underlying a lot of our issues today.
Mm-hmm.
You want to touch on that,
Dr.
T?
That's a good idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. I in reading this study, I'm sort of searching for the next step. This is great news, But the next step is, what did they use? Was it type 1, type 2, or type 3 cannabis?
Yeah, Jean. So there's a link. There's a link to the paper. Maybe we could put it in the chat, Jason. I think I also put it in the Discord.
Yeah. The study is the study. You did put the link in. Adam, did we include the study, the separate study, in the article? Yeah. So you can go directly onto our website at www.high9news.com and you can find that study. It was a separate link that he had put in Discord that was the actual link to the actual study. So Adam is going to go and make sure that is attached, and so that should be done in about the next 10 minutes. And just so that way anyone that's watching this, they can go ahead and read that whole entire study directly on our website.
So Jean, my read of the paper quickly, my read of the paper quickly is that they were just looking at people who were using cannabis. I assume because it's in Germany, they're just smoking it. They don't really say they're just looking at the subpopulation within their group of cannabis users, comparing it to the non-cannabis users. So I would take it that those people are probably all smoking, but they could be using edibles.
They're probably rolling spliffs if they're in Germany.
If they're in Germany, yeah, they could be smoking blunts, right?
Yes.
I think some German companies have a broader range. You go into a dispensary in California, at least, and 99 out of 100 of the flowers that they're selling to you are type 1, high THC, low CBD. But you go to Germany, and I think there's a more even distribution. There's more type 2s and type 3s in there. So they might be using more CBD, which might be why it's been beneficial. Either way, cannabis use is basically what they say in this abstract, and how often are they using it. So they could be using any type. It looks like all types seem to work.
Mm-hmm. And just as a matter of fact, that is now on our website, that whole study, so you can go ahead and check it out there at www.high9news.com. And we got to go to a commercial. We are going to be right back. Get ready for the 20-year anniversary celebration of the Emerald Cup. The Emerald Cup will be held at the Henry J. Kaiser Center for the Arts in downtown Oakland, May 4th and 5th. Get your tickets now for best pricing. Cannabis categories include flower, pre-rolls, solventless concentrates, solvent concentrates, cartridges, edibles, topicals, tinctures, and alternative cannabinoids. So enter early for your chance to be a winner at the 20-year anniversary Emerald Cup competition. Oh, yes, she is the chancellor of Oaksterdam University. She's a mom, and man, does she a feisty with opinions. That's right, it is none other than our very own Keeping Up with the Joneses, Miss Dale Sky Jones.
Thank you, kind
She brings us
sir.
back with those opinions.
Yeah, I'm with it. I love it.
So many opinions.
Yeah.
Yes. But I try to keep them informed, or I keep my mouth shut, because it is better to appear an idiot than open it and remove all doubt.
Facts.
Per Mark Twain. All right. I am also taking us to Germany. We're kismet today. This particular story, Dario Sabagi, just written out of Berlin. Interior ministers of the federal states and their staff attend the Conference of Interior Ministers about the bill to legalize adult use cannabis for personal use in Germany, which is facing criticism from part of the coalition government, who Oaksterdam hosted in the city of Oakland just a couple of years ago. While Germany may become the third European country to legalize cannabis for personal use this year after revising the initial plan that included the establishment of a legal market, interior ministers of the federal states have objected to the bill due to concerns about the potential burden it may place on law enforcement. Deep breath, folks. The Conference of Federal State Interior Ministers in June of last year concluded that they don't endorse several aspects of the Cannabis Act, known as CanG, arguing that the legalization may not alleviate criminal prosecution practices. Furthermore, a joint resolution highlighted several negative effects on the efforts against organized crime, the protection of children and young people, as well as health protection, as documented in a report by the Federal Criminal Police Office. And that was made public only in the last few days from the BKA. I'm not going to try to pronounce that German word. Too many consonants. The report highlights several shortcomings in relations related to the technical implementation of the law, criticizes the German government's proposal for the controlled distribution of adult-use cannabis, with the interior ministers of the federal states expressing concerns about the inadequacy of several key points. They argue that the government's proposal insufficiently outlines the expected impacts and consequences of cannabis legalization for law enforcement, regulatory authorities, and public safety. The criticism focuses on potential burdens on law enforcement, highlighting challenges such as unclear regulations, unaddressed legal issues, and the likelihood of increased costs and tasks for policing and regulatory agencies. Additionally, the report stresses the need for further clarification and coordination at the state level to address uncertainties and potential challenges posed by the proposed legislation. Overall, it can be stated that the law enforcement and regulatory authorities of the federal states will be faced with additional tasks and expenses in the form of personnel and material costs, which cannot be quantified in detail at the present time. The report reads as translated into English. Now, in addition to the concerns raised by the interior ministers of the federal states, there's also some concerns coming from the Minister of the Interior. And this one particular lawmaker attempted multiple times to address safety concerns by proposing stringent controls on cultivation, the associations for cultivation, enforcing consumption bans, because bans are working so well. The so-called Traffic Light Coalition also pledged to alleviate the burden on police and authorities if consumers were not prosecuted, thus lessening the workload for law enforcement. In fact, the coalition government estimates an annual reduction, almost $8 million, 8.5 actually in U.S., in the burden on law enforcement authorities due to the legal permission to possess cannabis without punishment, citing a decrease in workload for police because you're not just guilty for having it. Regulatory authorities and public prosecutors' offices would no longer have to deal with it either. However, the interior ministers of the federal states question the reliability of this calculation. So while the SPD seems to be facing internal criticism over the legalization plans, and the Greens and the FDP are exerting pressure for finalization of the process. So in early December, they had reached an agreement on details, and they are signaling now that the cannabis legalization law is set to be passed in the Bundestag, but the vote on the law fell off the agenda again in the same month. So, several news media outlets reported last year the legalization of cannabis possession and cultivation would take effect on April 1st. That is the end of this particular news story, but I would love if we had time to talk about the Germans. This is Dale Sky Jones, straight out of Oaksterdam, reporting today for High at 9 News.
Of course it's the cops that object, Dale.
Shocker.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked at this. I find their reasoning quite humorous, though. That's
that
sure.
The costs will go up when they have less to do. Mm-hmm. It's cannabis is being bought and sold and consumed, and I also find it unbelievable that they're saying that it would affect organized crime in a way that, organized crime this is just an also and with everything else that they're doing. We hosted the German Federal Health Commission, the equivalent of the German czar, drug czar, as well as all of the parties. We had 6 of the parties. We called up the city of Oakland and hosted them downtown and spent several hours just talking about all of these implementation issues and selective enforcement, and let's approach it as a whole plant, that we shouldn't also make let's upcycle the waste instead of turning it into trash into a landfill. That's actually, there are benefits to how they approach it. And I challenged Germany specifically while they were here that, like, you know, you think these things through, you calculate, you do it better. And if Germany can get it right, it's going to affect all of Europe. They are the leader in so many different ways. So we really need to do our best to help them get this right.
Mm-hmm. They are the largest country in the EU, that's for sure, and they are the dominant economy out there above all of them.
Yep.
Like no one else even comes close.
They're going to be the hub.
Yeah. No.
All the other countries are going to take their cue off of what Germany does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Germany's the big dog out there. They're just going to follow along whatever Germany does. Very, very, very true. Well, good luck, Germany. We hope you. Yeah.
And I didn't even get hot. Look, we're good. I'm cool.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Well, I'll tell you what, Dale. I have something that may get you hot. This is a real super quickie.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Bring it.
I know. You guys thought I was gonna leave you guys on like all happiness and stuff, huh? Yeah. Guess what? It's Friday. Not a chance.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
Yes, because Cannabis MSO Trulieve.
For the fucked up Friday.
What? No, stop it, bro, stop it. You might like this story, Rico. Give it a chance. Cannabis MSO Trulieve appeals Alabama's license restraining order. You guys, that's right. Alabama's yet to launch medical marijuana program is embroiled in yet another legal challenge. At this time, from the Florida-based multi-state operator Trulieve Cannabis. Trulieve filed a notice of appeal with the state's Court of Appeals over a judge's decision to halt the market's MMJ licensing process until another lawsuit has been heard, according to Alabama Political Reporter. Montgomery County Circuit Court Judge James Anderson issued a temporary restraining order against the licensing process back on December 28th, and we actually covered that here on High at 9 News, and Trulieve is seeking to have that decision overturned. The company also wants to see disagreements over our concerns with the licensing process to be dealt with by the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission, the AMCC, rather than the courts. I wonder if that's because they have someone inside of that office. But nonetheless, Alabama Political Reporter noted that Anderson said in his decision that the AMCC's processes aren't adequate, and state regulators have made 3 attempts to issue licenses since Alabama's lawmakers passed medical cannabis legislation in 2021, you guys. Trulieve, back in the news. What do you got to say about this?
Come on, man.
Has Trulieve paid their taxes yet?
Oh, yeah. Look at that. The doctor coming in as the IRS auditor.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet the answer is no to that.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see?
Come on, Alabama. You can do it. You can do it.
Feel the Dr. Trulieve right now.
Oh, man. Hold on. But don't you guys think that it's funny that they don't want this to be handled in the courts, that they want it to be handled by the agency? Doesn't that just smell like they have someone in the agency?
It says people who are getting their pockets stuffed with money made from Delta 8 sales. It's big Delta 8 country down there. They don't want to upset their apple cart. They're making a lot of money right now in the billions, and they don't want to fuck with. So, yeah, they'll just keep kicking the can down the road. Delta 8 country, that's out.
I'm going to add on to that too, because the drug testing and drug treatment is strong in Florida. The current senator, former governor, he and his wife between them own almost all of the treatment facilities in the state. So they want to make sure that they keep regular, good old fashioned adult use as illegal as possible, so that we can keep catching people who are just detrimentally addicted to the drug, and let's put them in treatment and make the insurance company pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Down the population.
Other heads out of the beds that actually need the treatment, I'll add on. Sorry to interrupt myself.
I was just saying, dumb down the population on fast food and keep the Delta 8 flowing.
Hey, man, that trick is working. That trick is working, Dr. Mark, if it is. I can tell you that much.
There's so many good folks working so hard in Alabama trying to get this right. It's frustrating that, I mean, I'm not even thinking about Trulieve, I'm just generally... Lawsuits are part of the business plan now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the gas station owners, the convenience stores, and the Delta 8 people love it just the way it is. It's perfect for them.
Yeah, they don't have to pay all the fees. They don't have to go through any of the hoops, but it's easier to sell and I dare say cheaper.
Deep pockets
Alabama
in that Delta 8
for business.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Ain't no trap like the dirty South trap.
Oh,
Tell you that much. But thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High Nine News. It's always great for Feel Good Fridays. We have such educational experts on with us, and it's always good to have them check me and Jason, because all we do is talk shit those other 4 days.
Stop.
But you can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen. To our live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developer of the cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respective opinions to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, all the sponsors keeping our lights on and AV struggles to a minimum. And of course, Adam, back there. And his hair is so naturally feathered today. It's like he rode to work with his head out the window. Feel Good Friday. As always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason the High at 9 News team reads these headlines every single day. Thank you, too. It has been Friday, January 19, 2024. The show's over. We've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. If you're out in Fresno, or if you can't get out to Fresno, if you're not in Fresno, Modesto today, make sure you guys stop by 3 p.m. Pacific to 7 p.m. Pacific. Show love. It is Luke Scarmazzo, our very own in-house outlaw expert, Luke Scarmazzo. He's going to be out there. His brothers are opening up their shop out there, but also he's going to be signing books live. And you know that Carmen Sacramento is going to be out there too, Mandy Tingler. Jason, you going to be out there? Who else is going to be there?
I'm going to be out there. You know what I mean? You're going to be out there. And we're going to see everybody else out there that can make it. Yeah, Saman will be out there. Yeah. There'll be a bunch of people out there.
Come show some love, y'all. Put them in the air with us.
All the people.
My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street. Jason, who's going to take it out today? You're going to divvy it out today, man.
I get to divvy it out today? Stop it.
Yeah, because you got dunked on all show today, dude. So
I did not get dunked on. I did not get dunked on, not once.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? We're gonna give it to Willie. We got Willie Sheets from Vermont Alternatives joining us today. Always constantly in the chat. Willie, what do you got to say to take us out? To get the good people for the weekend.
Don't smoke mids, and if you're in Vermont, buy your weed from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.